I don't know, about 20 or so prospective students, and I think around 13 or so that are joining us from around the GTA and the province. So for those who are just joining in, my name is Dr. Arnold Neufeld-Fast. I'm Associate Dean here. And I'm going to just use a few minutes to say some key things about Tyndale as a whole and some of our emphases. And then I'm going to ask two of my colleagues, Dr. James Pedler and Dr. Rebecca Idestrom, to just say a little bit about what excites them about their program and something about the major. And then we'll pass it on. So one of the important things about Tyndale is that it's not strictly a denominational seminary. It's what we call big tent evangelical. We have many denominations represented here. We have probably more than 20. And our faculty, too, are all connected to various churches. Many of our faculty are ordained preachers as well, and from a variety of evangelical churches. So I'm a ordained minister, and I am Mennonite, and James is Wesleyan, and Rebecca has a Pentecostal background, and the dean is Baptist. So we've got that range here, and so that means this is an institution that values the gifts that these traditions bring to the table. And even if you're not denominationally lodged, what you'll find is some vibrant conversation, because we value the gifts that you bring from your traditions and the churches that you represent and the way that you've been shaped spiritually, and we know that we need those gifts at the table, and we'll all be enriched by that. Makes it that's one of the things that most of our professors love. So that is the same for students as well. Our tagline, Christ-centered, graduate, theological education for leaders in the church and in society. So there's a lot packed in there, but our education, our seminary training here, Christ-centric or Christocentric, that grounds us, that reminds us of who we are and what we're doing. It's graduate work. We're not 19 years old anymore. We come to the classroom as adult learners with lots of experience, and as professors, we treat that with respect, and we know that we can all be teachers and we can all be learners. It's theological education for leaders. Each of you have been leading in some way or another. Each of you are being tooled or trained to become more effective and faithful leaders for the church, but only about 33% of our incoming students and graduating students think that they're going into congregational ministry. Fully 2/3 realize that's not their call, but God is calling them to a different type of ministry, different calling within God's larger kingdom work, right? So we've got all of that happening at seminary, which makes it very exciting, because we have to think of ministry as something larger than simply, a traditional view of pastoral education, right? So how many minutes do I have, Nathan? Just a few minutes left? Okay. Those are just a very few things. We're multicultural. Our faculty represent that. We're very Canadian. In other words, we're thinking all the time about what kind of leaders do we need for the 21st century Canadian church, the way the church really is in the GTA, and its mission, its opportunities, and its challenges. But at the same time, we're very global. So we think globally, but really are always trying to understand what's happening in our churches and the things that our churches need from seminary, what we can offer in the training that happens here. So I'm going to ask Dr. Pedler, and then after Dr. Pedler, Dr. Rebecca Idestrom, just to say something from the perspective of their own disciplines. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, it's wonderful to have you all here tonight. So I teach systematic theology, not everyone's favorite subject. But what I really love about teaching theology is helping you all to see how the church's theology has emerged out of the real-life situations in ministry and in the life of the church, in the history of the church. And so, things like the doctrine of the Trinity. This is not, theologians like me sitting in their office and thinking up ways to give students a headache. This is about the preaching of the gospel and what does the gospel mean and how do we interpret the Bible correctly and how do we understand what's going on in the New Testament with Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And so it's about, and there were wrong answers that came up in church's history about how to do that and how to preach the gospel well. And so theology is really, I see the calling of a theologian is to be a teacher in the church and to equip all of us to be teachers in the church. And so I love helping students to see that and to see how that means theology is always relevant to situations in your life and situations in your church. And hopefully it equips you to think theologically about how you do ministry and to do ministry in a way that's, has theological integrity and you're thinking things through scripturally and in terms of our core beliefs and doctrines. And I'll just echo the idea of the diversity of the classroom, which really is a wonderful way to teach theology. For example, as a Wesleyan, if I teach theology and all the students in the class are Wesleyans, there's some questions we won't ever ask. And we'll have a really easy time defending our view of things, right? So it's really great to come and to learn about Calvinism with Calvinists and be a Wesleyan learning about Wesleyans and to see how we can sort of iron can sharpen iron in that way.
Hello, welcome. My name is Rebecca. I'm a little bit shorter. Hello, my name is Rebecca Eiderstrom, and I teach Old Testament here, and I'm also the coordinator of the Biblical Studies major. So if anyone is wanting to do biblical studies, I'm your advisor. And so I've been here for 15 years teaching full-time, and I love teaching at Tyndale. It's a wonderful place to be. As everybody's expressed, I love the diversity of the students here. And I teach courses like Biblical Interpretation and Old Testament Theology and History, and I teach Biblical Hebrew. And I just find it's exciting to open up the scriptures and people realizing that I can interpret this. And for those, sometimes people are afraid of the Old Testament. They just don't know how to even access the Old Testament. And so I just find it really encouraging when I am able to help students to see how the Old Testament still has relevance for us as Christians and how we can embrace the story of Israel as our story as well. And so that's really inspiring and encouraging for me. And also people are afraid of taking Greek and Hebrew, and I just think it's wonderful to be able to teach biblical Hebrew and people realizing, I can do this. I can actually read this in Hebrew and Greek, and so that's also exciting. So I hope you won't be afraid to take the biblical courses, and look forward to meeting one of you or some of you in class. Thanks.
Thank you. That was such a wonderful treat to hear from our professors. So we're going to dive right into our programs. So if you would turn with me to page 17, we can dive right into our classroom experience and take a closer look at our programs. So you'll notice that we have a couple of programs listed on the page. At the very top, we have a graduate diploma, which can be completed in 9 courses full-time in 1 year. So this program is designed for students who are looking to enhance their biblical knowledge and a little bit of further equipment. Right underneath the graduate diploma, we have the MTS, which is a 2-year program that can be completed full-time with 18 courses. So the neat thing about Tyndale is that we're not only flexible for students who might have full-time lives coming to study with us, but you can actually take a lot of our courses in that approach of flexibility and transfer them from program to program. So all 9 courses from the graduate diploma, you can actually move into the MTS. So if you're testing out the waters and wanting to see what would it be like to maybe study a little bit of theology beforehand, that's one thing that you can do. So the MTS is actually geared towards students who want to enhance their biblical knowledge and theological understanding while working in the marketplace. So in the MTS, we actually have a modular program that can be completed and which is designed for full-time employees. So it can be completed while you're working as a full-time employee at the same time. So it's scheduled every Monday from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And Arnold's actually the program director for that particular program. Lastly, we have our 3-year MDiv, which is right underneath the MTS. So it's primarily geared towards those who feel called to vocational ministry. So the key difference between the MTS and the MDiv is the 1-year internship that provides practical ministerial experience. So the MDiv, again, is 3 years and 27 courses. So all of these programs have core courses in biblical studies, theology, church history, and personal formation. So if you turn the page with me, you'll actually be able to see some of the majors that you can specialize in. So, page before, on page 15. So we've got some of our programs listed here. Some of the popular programs are counseling, spiritual formation, pastoral ministry, and some of our unique programs like the in-ministry program or the modular program. So Tyndale's approach to education combines academic excellence and a practical application. So students are putting into practice what they're actually living out and learning. So in the same way, our faculty members are taking on and embracing the same approach and putting their faith into practice and embracing that as researchers, as therapists, and as pastors. So we understand, as we've mentioned perhaps a couple of times, that students at the seminary come in at various points in their lives. So some students come in and they're coming in to study full-time with a full-time schedule. Some students are coming in with full-time lives. So in order to strive to meet the needs of our students, we have flexible study options. So if you turn to page 12, I believe, you can see some of these options. So you can opt to study full-time, part-time, online, in class, on the evenings or weekends, or even during 1-week intensives. Part of my role here in admissions is to guide you through the admissions process. So let's take a look at the steps that are involved. So if you turn to the very last page, I believe page 26, we'll look at the application process. So step 1 is coming to Tyndale. So congratulations, you've all completed step 1. Step 2 would be to check any required documents or any basic entrance requirements. So we've got the statement of faith. Our basic minimum entrance requirement is a bachelor's degree with a minimum GPA of a 2.3. Step 3 would be to apply. So as you're all here, you all will notice that there's an application tucked into your binders. And as you're here, we will waive the application fee for you, or you can also apply online, which is also free. Any upcoming deadlines, some upcoming deadlines would be May 1st for the counseling students, and August 1st is our soft deadline for most of our other programs. Step 4 would be to send in any documents needed for your actual application. So in your application, we would need the actual paper application, 2 references, 1 pastoral or a character reference, an academic or an employer reference, any post-secondary transcripts that you have received from any institution that you might have attended, and lastly, any supplements that you would need for your program. So programs such as counseling, in ministry, or the modular have supplements. And that is it. So we will have a moment for questions at the end, but for now, I'm going to pass it over to Brian, who will walk you through how to finance your studies at Tyndale.
Hello. As Nicola has introduced myself, my name is Brian Ty. I am the Student Financial Resources Coordinator. So I'm the guy who kind of helps you find out how to help finance your education. So I have this little presentation over here to kind of just help guide you through that process. So as you can see here, we have the Grand Canyon. And I like to use this as a representation on just kind of with 2 things, what you have and what you want. So what you have is what are some of your available resources available to you to pay for tuition, and then the other end is what you want, which is to ultimately pay for tuition. So in certain times, that gap might be small, it might be big, depending on what your situation is. So in my role, what I'm here to do is just kind of help you kind of bridge that gap with what we can help find, what I can help find for you. So there's a couple ways you can pay for tuition. First of all, personal contributions. So what is your available resources? Family contributions, if you get help from family. Tyndale financial aid, which I'm going to go into more detail about. Outside awards, and also student loans, things like OSAP. All right, so before I kind of get into this, you might have a question about, okay, how much does tuition cost here at Tyndale? So let's get into that. So as Nicolette mentioned, if you apply today or you apply online, the application fee is free. So you don't have to pay for that. Yay, free. The tuition fees, so I'm going to go by per course cost, understanding that everyone's going to have different situations. You might be taking 1 course, 2 courses, 5 courses at a time. So per course, this year it's $1,275, and that's tuition fees all in. So no hidden fees on top of that. It's $1,275. I will make a disclaimer that tuition price usually does go up every year, about 2%. So just kind of keep that in mind. As far as books and materials, we would say you can estimate around $100 per course. That's not a fixed fee or anything. It's just to help you kind of budget. You can always find books used, new, wherever, from family members who've taken courses before. So that's just kind of help give you a gauge. So per course, you're looking around $1,375 per course. And again, depending on how many courses you're taking in a semester or a year, just take that number, multiply it by that. Simple math. And in regards to how to pay, we usually offer a 3 installment payment plan, just to kind of help you spread out your costs. So whether you're a student with government assistance, so that's applying with OSAP, or without government assistance, you can pay over 3 installments. But definitely we can kind of go more into detail with this as if you want to come and sit down with us or anything like that. Okay? So going back to bridging the gap, I'm going to go briefly into some of these things to kind of help guide you through that. So first of all, personal and family contributions. So some of you might be working full-time or working part-time, so you want to take a look at what you have been able to maybe put aside to help pay for tuition. There are opportunities on campus as well. Some of these students back down there are working at admissions. Some of them are seminary students as well. So if you want to look for on-campus employment, that is available. Some of you might have some educational savings plan set aside for tuition. And also, if you have an RRSP, you can take advantage of the lifelong learning plan. So that's just some of the personal and family contributions you can take advantage of. As far as what Tyndale can offer, Tyndale has financial aid. And on our website, tyndale.ca/financial aid, there are 4 types of financial aid that we highlight. So the first being scholarships and awards, bursaries, government aid, and sponsorships. So in regards to scholarships is awards given based on merit. So that could be either your grades or certain achievements that you have, so community hours, things like that. So first of all, we have the President's Scholarship, which is based on your entrance grades. So when you do your application and you hand in all your transcripts, we'll figure out what your admittance GPA is. And depending on what that is, if it's at least a 3.3, which is around an 87%, you automatically get $1,000 for the year. And if you have maybe around a 90%, which is a 3.9, you'll get $2,000. So that's just kind of help you going. And do we have any people who have graduated from Tyndale before? If not, that's all right. We do have a scholarship for that too. Another thing that you do want to make sure you look into as well is Tyndale offers a bunch of different other scholarships for returning students. So that's students returning beyond their first year. And a lot of these are based on, again, your grades or even certain achievements or even passions that you have. So we have awards up to $5,000, which can be awarded to students who have interest in global missions, who are gifted evangelists, gifted writers, who are great leaders, who have an interest in pastoral ministry. So hopefully one of those actually kind of you identify with, and you can apply for those kind of scholarships. Right? Next one would be bursaries. So bursaries is money that are given based on financial need. So financial need is based off of what is your ability to pay for tuition given your current financial situation. So we have awards up to $2,500, and it's really easy to apply. It's online on our financial aid website. It takes about 10 minutes to do the application, and then we'll ask you a couple of questions about your current situation, and that one app will match you with whatever bursaries we do have available that you may be eligible for. Okay. The next one is a very popular program we have, which is the Church Match program. Hopefully that kind of sparks some interest. We understand that church support is vital to successful students' training, and so one thing that we have done is we partner with churches where if they're able to support you financially, Tyndale will match their contribution. There is a limit of $100 per course, but let's say if you are taking, 8 courses in the year, if they provide $800 towards your education, Tyndale will match that and give another $800 towards your tuition. So that doubles. Let's kind of go on. So another type of financial aid you might want to look into as well. Some of you might be familiar with government student aid, so things like OSAP. Tyndale is approved for OSAP, especially with the MTS program and the MDiv program. So if you're interested in those, you can apply for OSAP. If you don't know what OSAP is and you're interested, what OSAP is a financial aid program featuring grants. So the grants are money that you do not need to pay back, and there's loans which you'll eventually have to pay back. Okay? And this is provided by the federal and provincial government. So the whole point is to help students finance their education who have a need. So loans are interest-free while you're a full-time student. So you do not need to pay them back while you're a full-time student. It's after you graduate or become a part-time student where you'll have to begin to start paying them back. So it's a little accommodating for students who are studying full-time. And the application for OSAP is actually going to be ready next week, which is a lot earlier than we expected, so that's good. And so if you are interested in applying for OSAP and wondering how much you might be able to get, you can apply and kind of budget what you may need left over, or if you have a shortfall from OSAP, then you can budget for that. So you can help, I'm using the word budget a lot, but budget for how to finance your education. So then if you don't have enough OSAP, then this is where you can look for other resources. Okay. I'm going to just speed through some of these because we don't have too much time right now, but to be eligible for OSAP, you need to be a Canadian citizen, you need to be a resident of Ontario, you need to be currently studying in an OSAP-approved school, which is Tyndale, and currently enrolled in a such a certificate, degree, or a diploma program. So for us, it'll be the MTS or the MDiv programs. And that's how they do that. And then how OSAP aid is determined by, they take a look at your allowable educational costs, so how much this tuition costs, and then what is your expected financial contribution. So things like if you have, they'll look at your spousal income, your current income and assets and things like that. And then they'll calculate how much OSAP you may need to help finance your education. Okay? So to apply for OSAP, again, you can start applying next week. If you need any help with the application, feel free to give us a call, come by our office, email us. We've done this for many years. I've done this for many years, so I can definitely help you and guide you through that whole process, especially if you're very uncomfortable with it. Okay? The last type of aid that I just want to touch on is external aid. So external aid is scholarships and bursaries offered by other institutions or other organizations that help provide for students. This isn't just for undergrad students, this is also for students doing their graduate degrees, so just like you guys. So these are some of the popular websites there, and I have just 3 tips. Can I do 3 tips? I can do 3 tips. All right, so first off, you want to apply. How many of you are familiar with Wayne Gretzky? We got some hockey fans? Awesome. Wayne Gretzky once said, "You miss 100% of the shots you do not take." I say you miss 100% of the scholarships you do not apply for. So the thing is, it's worth it to apply. Because if you don't apply, you get no scholarships. Okay? And this is just money that can help you pay for tuition. Second is you apply early. You don't want to miss on the deadlines too. So definitely check out when scholarships are expiring and make sure you apply before then. And lastly, apply often. The more you apply, the better your chances you're going to get at least something. And especially the more you apply, the better you will get at applying. Because if your first application is going to take half an hour, 45 minutes, your third one will take 5 minutes. It's just a matter of copying and pasting, right? So lastly, I just want to wrap up. Nicolette mentioned how there's a lot of flexibility, and we understand that a lot of students that are coming into the seminary come from different lifestyles. Some of them might be coming from full-time jobs, some of them from full-time lives, and especially when it comes to OSAP and financial aid, there is a requirement that you have to be a full-time student. By definition for us, a full-time student is taking at least 3 courses in a semester. But some of you might be asking, how can I be a full-time student while being a full-time parent, full-time employee, and things like that? Well, as Nicolette mentioned, we have different options. You could be doing a little mix of night courses, online courses, 1-week intercession courses, mix and match, and that will allow you to still maintain your full-time eligibility, right? So that is the end of my presentation about how to help bridge the gap. Remember to kind of take a look at all your resources, and if you have any questions with regards to that, definitely contact me, and I can help you and guide you through that process. So that's, yeah, so thank you for being here. Thank you for those who are online, and we want to, if you have any questions, definitely contact any of us, contact anyone from admissions, and we definitely want to help you out. So thank you again. Have a blessed night.
All right, thank you. So we will, now we're going to a class, but we will have a question period or question